Good morning, friends. Good to see everyone. And good morning, friends online. Good to see all of you. Hi, Smiths, Bob, Janine, and John. Good to see you. And Doug, thank you so much for being our host. Good to see all of you. Well, welcome to Reedwood, and I'm grateful that for the automatic time change. Well, I don't know if I'm grateful for that, but I'm glad I woke up when I was supposed to wake up. And, you know, I forgot that happened. I just thought, well, I'm just dragging a little bit more this morning. And then I looked at the oven clock, which was an hour behind, and I thought, well, that's funny. I thought, oh, yeah. Good old iWatch, keeping time for me. So, welcome. Glad that you're here. Let's just take a moment to center, and I'll offer a few words as an opening prayer, as an opening time for our worship. But let's center down first. As the light of dawn awakens earth's creatures and stirs into song the birds of the morning, so may we be brought to life this day, rising to see the light, to hear the wind, to smell the fragrance of what grows from the ground, to taste its fruit, its textures, so our inner senses may be awakened to you. So may our senses be awakened to you, O God. Amen. The accompanying scripture that goes with that is Psalm 107. You satisfy the thirsty and fill the hungry with good things. As well as John chapter 6. Jesus said, I am the bread of life. Welcome to Reedwood.
Then when it's time A George Fox quote: "Keep to that of God in you, which will lead you up to God. When you are still from your own thoughts and imaginations, and desires and counsels of your own hearts and motions and will, when you stand single from all these, waiting upon the Lord, your strength is renewed. He that waits upon the Lord feels his shepherd, and he shall not want." A quote from St. John of the Cross. The Father spoke one word, which was his Son, and this word he speaks always in eternal silence, and in silence must be heard by the soul. And a R.S. Thomas poem. But the silence in the mind is when we live best, within listening distance of the silence we call God. This is the deep calling to deep of the psalm writer, the bottomless ocean we launch the armada of our thoughts on, never arriving. It is presence, then, whose margins are our margins, that calls us out over our own fathoms. What to do but draw a little nearer to such ubiquity by remaining still.
Out of the frying pan. Let's do it again. Out of the frying pan. And try to gently put this down. This makes a great chili in here. I don't want to disturb the seasoning. We're all familiar with the saying, aren't we? Out of the frying pan and into the fryer. Proverbial wisdom that actually it dates back to the 16th century England. The meaning of this saying implies going from a bad situation to something even worse, a worse situation, out of the frying pan and into the fire. I want to be real this morning. I want to try to be real this morning. The world appears to be escalating from one crisis into another, kind of like out of the frying pan and into the fire. Simply scrolling or listening to the news, we see video footage of violence and injustice time and time again being committed against immigrants, our neighbors, against U.S. citizens, our neighbors, while our LGBTQ plus neighbors also face ongoing systemic discrimination from the state and federal court systems. Additionally, as if I don't have to go on, international headlines highlight how the U.S. and Israel's preemptive strikes on Iran are intensifying and fanning the flames of an all-out war. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. I say again, I talk to people throughout the week, and these are friends, these neighbors, these people, they express their frustration, their anger, their betrayal, and distrust of the powers that be. People are saddened to the point of emotional and even physical sickness. It's becoming somatic. So it seems today that even the power of language, what we say, is stifled, that words no longer have an inherent power. Why? Words don't mean anything. We live in a world now where you say what you want, do what you want, and there's no consequence, no repercussion. Say what you want. Words have no meaning. Words have no power. What does one do? What do we do now? Where can we go from here? We can agree on this, that there is a deep need and cry for truth in the world. We all can agree on that. There's a cry for truth. There's a cry for reality, to mean something, to be present in this world. Not just propositional truth, but deep truth, a truth of the human soul as it finds its place in this life, in this world, and grounded in this time and place. That type of truth, existential truth. Where is it? How do we find it? And if someone's found it, who's pointing the way? How do we get there? Friends, I'm a preacher. Forgive my rhetoric. Forgive my sweeping generalizations. I confess that. I confess I'm doing that now. And I don't mean to be overly pessimistic or overly negative. I don't want to paint a bleak picture. I don't want to do that. I know this stuff is heavy, as heavy as this cast iron pan, actually. But I want to acknowledge and not shy away from what I know each one of us carries in here, week in and week out. We're carrying something. We're carrying stuff, and we're wondering, are we going to talk about it in here? Is there going to be something said in here? Is there going to be some sort of opening in here that can help me bear this? I hope so. I hope we can talk about it. Also, if the gospel of Christ cannot speak to our troubles, then it is not good news. So we have to talk about this. We have to have hard conversations. The meeting is not supposed to be some parallel universe without its foundation to be put here on the earth. The meeting is to be a place where spirit and the world can meet, or we can connect. It's this reality that American author Henry Thoreau seeks to engage with his opus, Walden, when he muses, quote, "Let us settle ourselves and work and wedge our feet downwards through the mud and slush of opinion and tradition and pride and prejudice, appearance and delusion, through the alluvium which covers the globe, through poetry and philosophy and religion, through church and state, through Paris and London, through New York, Boston, Concord, and might I add, Portland, till we come to a hard bottom that rocks in place, which we can call reality, and say, this is, and no mistake," end quote. We may not have all the answers. That's not the point of having all the answers, to have that all systematized. We live with a healthy relationship with mystery in this place, and we acknowledge that. But the Quaker way does have methods to help us find our bearings when we no longer are sure which direction to go. Therefore, I propose now more than ever, contemplation is a need for people to move forward in their lives and in this world. Contemplation. That's how we recover. That's where we heal. That's where we restore. Contemplation, whether you're religious or not. If you're human, engaging with a life of contemplation helps you to live a life of beauty, to live a life of truth and a life of deep meaning. Contemplation teaches us to learn the love of God, not just to fear and not even to know, but to actually love God. This is the deepest, most liberating truth we can strive for. This is the way Jesus teaches, because when you love God, you are able to love all things. Understand, then, that contemplation is not a removal of ourselves from life and its problems. You're not sidestepping with contemplation. And that might be kind of an initial critique. Well, aren't you just sidestepping problems by hiding away, running away? No. But it's a way to recognize, understand, and navigate life, not to remove ourselves from insurmountable problems of the world, but that we might be centered within ourselves to engage the problems of our times. How do I center myself in a time like this? How do I remain centered when I feel like I'm in the frying pan? Or, worse yet, I'm in the fire. One Sunday in the year 2023, our friend Daniel Smith Christopher invited Dr. Candace Love, a vice principal of Cleveland High School here in Portland, and boy, it was just such a wonderful interview. It's actually on our YouTube channel. If you look up Reedwood Friends Church, Dr. Candace Love, there's 2 videos, part 1, part 2. I listened to both of them because I was looking for something she said that has been, I've taken with me. It was a ray of light that she said it, and I thought, okay, I got to find it now. So I had a little bit of homework to do. It was an interview about the Black experience in Portland, Oregon schools. Dr. Love said a wise and discerning statement about Quaker worship that has stuck with me through the years, when she said, "Silence can be positive or negative depending on what you do with that silence. If silence is your way of retreating into inaction, that is when it hurts me as a woman of color. But if silence is an opportunity for you to reflect and then take that reflection and make it the image of Christ into action, oh, I love your silence." End quote. I resonate with the words of Richard Rohr, talking about contemplation when he writes, "Contemplation is about seeing. Contempla is the act of seeing." That's the root for contemplation, is to see. Contemplation is about seeing, but a kind of seeing that is much more than mere looking, like we're just browsing through the stores or when we're going through the mall, we're looking around. Sometimes I get caught being in the Goodwill, and Megan calls me and says, "What are you doing?" I say, "Oh, I'm just looking around." She says, "Keep it to $10. I hang up before she gets to say that. No. There's really good books. Really cool shirt. Speaking of Goodwill, $5. It's a way of seeing. Kind of seeing that it's much more than looking around like you're at the Goodwill, like Mark looks at the Goodwill. Because it includes recognizing and thus appreciating. The contemplative mind does not tell us what to see, but teaches us how to see what we behold. Contemplation allows us to see the truth of things in their wholeness, not just their parts. If we're always looking just at the part, the small view, that's one way of seeing, but that's not the holistic human way of seeing, the contemplative way of seeing the whole system. I believe it's that way of seeing that the gospel moves us into. Seeing the whole person, seeing the whole story, making meaning of the whole part of my life, not just a little part. Friends, we may indeed then be in a frying pan, that we may indeed want out of this situation. Get me out of here. But let us consider what this season in life is doing within us that cannot be done at any other time. We would never choose it. We would never want it. We wouldn't even wish it upon a person. But it's where we're at. It's what's happening. And so what can I do now in this season, at this time, that can be redemptive, that can lead to wisdom and things that bring life and a deeper sense of self? Life is hard right now, but I plead with you, don't become desensitized. Don't drink the cup of self-pity. You can take a sip. Don't drink deeply from that cup of self-pity. I plead with you, don't give in to hatred. Don't give in to violence of any form, but let us enter into a practice of contemplation so that we may see clearly, so that we may listen deeply, that we may act in wisdom, truth, conviction, innocency, and justice at such a time when there is such need for these spiritual fruits to be present in our shared world. That's what we need right now. Not the easy stuff. Not the stuff that secretly feels good. And I say all these things because it's a temptation. It's a temptation to me. But I know that there's not a deep life within that. Where's the deeper stuff? Where's the stuff that Thoreau is talking about? Sinking our feet down into the depths. So we find a hard place in life and say, there is reality. Everything else is passing, illusion. So, how do I do it? It's one thing to rally. This is what you need to do. Okay, how do you do it? What's some action here? How do I become a contemplative? And I would say let's start with 2 words. And maybe this is something that you can use as like a reminder or even a short prayer. Pay attention. Pay attention. Let that be your grounding thought. Pay attention. Am I paying attention? Pay attention to people. Pay attention to what you read, what you give yourself over in your reading. Pay attention to what you watch, what you listen to. Essentially, what are you beholding? What are you falling into? Pay attention. Contemplate this. Oh, pay attention to your words. The ones you say, moreover, the ones you don't say. Pay attention. Contemplate this. Measure this in the light and measure of God. Pay attention to nature. God's first book, as Augustine says. Pay attention to nature. Pay attention to Scripture, God's second book, according to Augustine. Pay attention to your dog. Pay attention to your cat. Pay attention to your lizard and the spider that just made a web for you to marvel at in the corner of your house, outside the night light. Pay attention. Pay attention to your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your children. Pay attention. They are portals of revelation. Philosopher and mystic Simone Weil once wrote, "Attention, taken to its highest degree, is the same thing as prayer. It presupposes faith and love. Absolutely unmixed attention is prayer. If we turn our mind toward the good, it is impossible that little by little the whole soul will not be attracted thereto in spite of itself." Simone Weil. So, to conclude, out of the frying pan and into the fire? Maybe so. I want to deal with reality here. I want us to come here and deal with what is real. That's my goal. And if what is real is, well, we're not sure, then let's say it. If what is real is something we need to work towards, well, let's say it. Let's get to work on that. But let this work, let this frying pan experience be a prompt for us to contemplate the life of God in all things, in the here and now, that we may learn of the Spirit and know how we ought to live for such a time as this. Let us turn to the Spirit. Speaking of contemplation, we have a little bit of time for silence. But I did have two queries that I wanted to offer. Number one, how can you pay attention today? How can you pay attention this week? Deep attention, the attention and the beholding of the soul. How can I do that? Where can I do that, and how can I engage in that way? Number two, how can we live more fully into the measure of God for our lives? Not just squeaking by and good enough and, I'm the king of good enough. Oh, good enough. I don't want that to be the statement of my life. Mark was good enough. No. I want to be awake. I want to be in communion. I want to be in relationship. I want to be at peace with my life, with you, and to share that with the meeting. Let's enter into a time of silence. If you feel so moved to share, thank you, Peggy, for being willing to run the microphone. Friends online, if you feel so moved to share, make sure you're unmuted so we can hear you in here. Let's center down, friends. Let's pay attention.